Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Serrano from Line's technical consulting team, and I'm the tech lead for the Line developer sites doc section, and also I do some evangelist work for messaging API and Line login as well. And today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the Line developer site. Just a show of hands, how many people have used the Line developer site and looked at the documentation? Good. Looks like there's a few of you guys here. We've been working on renewing it for the past 2 months or so, and then we finally released the new version last week, September 21st. And today I'm going to talk about why we redesigned the developer site, and then I'm going to talk about how we moved from using WordPress for documentation to using a static site generator, and then finally I'm going to talk about how we implemented the new site using a static site generator called Middleman. So why did we redesign the site? Well, we wanted to improve developer experience, and when you hear that, the first thing you think is, oh, we should change the way the site looks. And we did that, and we think it looks nicer. But we also want to improve the way that we write docs. We wanted to improve the doc writing process so that we can write higher quality documentation. So we wanted to make it so that everyone, no matter what their job function is, writers, developers, salespeople, planners, we wanted them all to be able to write documentation. Also, we wanted to make the documentation more visible and transparent so that everyone knows how to look at it and everyone can see how it's changed. Finally, we wanted to encourage collaboration between developers and writers by allowing them to use the same tools. So we believe in a concept called docs as code. This means that you should write your documentation like you write your code. So you should write it in a plain text format. This means no editors like Microsoft Word that add some special formatting. We should check it into version control so that you can track how it's changed. And also, you should build it like source code from the plain text to its final format with some sort of automated build process or automated testing as necessary. At Line, well, at least at the Line Developer Center, we write the documentation using Markdown. So anyone can edit it using any editor of their choice. Also, all of our documentation is managed in GitHub. So all the editors can view the docs, review the docs, and then also make pull requests to contribute to it. And finally, our documents are built using an automated process. So it's automatically built from Markdown to HTML. And we also have some automated testing in there too. So I'm going to talk about now how we moved from using WordPress for our docs to using a static site generator. Our first solution was using WordPress, and it was a valid solution, but not exactly ideal. And this is because it wasn't as flexible as we needed it to be. We have several layouts for our documentation, and we didn't want to be forced to shoving it all into a single WordPress theme. Next is that WordPress is a app, and that means that maintenance and security patches are required. You can't just leave it on a server and have it running and hope no one hacks it or it goes down or anything like that. Also, collaboration was difficult because everything is contained inside of the WordPress CMS. Not everyone had access to that, so we had to give it to people, and that was a pain. And finally, its version control system wasn't ideal for us because we wanted everything to jive with the GitHub flow. So we looked at various solutions, and the one that we came up upon was a static site generator. If you guys don't know what a static site generator is, it's a tool that takes templates for your design, content, and data, and then transforms it into static HTML pages that you can host on any server of your choice. There were several advantages to doing this. The first is the flexibility in design. There are no set themes, so you can create design using templates, and you can design however you want. Also, you can check everything into GitHub. This means that you can use the GitHub workflow that everyone is so used to. Finally, it's also low maintenance. So, it's a static HTML site, so you don't have to worry about it going down as an application or get hacked so much. And it's static HTML, so it loads pretty quickly. So there are several static site generators out there like Hugo or the ever so popular Jekyll, but the one that we chose was Middleman. This is a static site generator that's written in Ruby. It has a high level of customization. You can add extensions and write helper methods. And there's actually a set of extensions on the website that you can actually put into your project. And it supports custom markdown rendering. And then also use ERB templates, which are quite simple if you've ever touched Ruby. So I'll go on to talk about how we actually implemented the site in Middleman. We took the static page designs from the designers and turned them into ERB templates. Then we created a custom Middleman extension to apply the style to our content. We implemented it so that all our content is written in Markdown and the menus are written using YAML files. And as a result, our doc writers only have to edit Markdown and YAML files. I mentioned that we created a custom Markdown or a custom Middleman extension, and this was necessary because the default Markdown renderer doesn't actually add styles to the HTML classes. And to resolve this, we made it a style converter to apply these styles. And then in addition to this, we also added helper methods in our Middleman extension as well as custom Markdown. And this is what makes up our extension. This is an example of the actual documentation written in Markdown on the left. And then on the right is how it looks on the site. And here's an example of the menus written in YAML. So I mentioned we created custom Markdown, and we did this by creating a custom Markdown handler, which we inherited using the red carpet Markdown handler. We inherited from the red carpet Markdown handler. We did this because there were certain styles that our writers couldn't express using standard Markdown. An example of this is a table. Well, a normal table like this that has a heading and goes from top to bottom, simple to make in Markdown because there's standard Markdown for that. But there are cases where you want a headerless table that perhaps goes from left to right. So we made a custom Markdown for this, and it's just 2 arrows going from left to right, like that. I mentioned that we added helper methods. An example of this is one that allows writers to call this helper method to display a glossary entry. So they just have to call the method and pass in the term, and then it prints out the term and the definition. So we changed our document build process to conform to docs as code. And whenever a writer wants to edit the code, we had them make a pull request to the documentation. When that happens, automated testing is run on the pull request content. And right now, it's just checking to see if Middleman builds successfully. But in the future, or actually right now, we're actually adding link validators to make sure there's no broken links, as well as style linters. And while that's happening, our team reviews the documentation. When everything passes, it gets merged to the master branch. And from there, Middleman builds it into static pages, and then it's deployed on the environment, the proper environment. So today I talked about how we focused on improving the doc writing process in our developer site redesign. We moved from WordPress to a static site generator called Middleman. We created custom Middleman extension that helps our document writers focus on writing docs. And we hope that improving this the authoring processes helps us create higher quality docs for you, our developers. It was a pleasure talking to you guys today. Thank you for listening.